Hi, this is Sharon Pope. I'm the love and relationship coach for women who want more. I have a new client that I'm working with, and for the purposes of keeping her confidentiality, I'm going to refer to her as Samantha. Now, Samantha shared with me her very personal and very painful story of the time that she spent with the man who is now her ex-husband. He was verbally abusive to her, calling her essentially every name in the book. She told me one Saturday morning, she started writing down the names that he was calling her throughout the morning. And by 9:30 in the morning, there were more than 30 names on that list. He was also emotionally abusive, telling her she needed to lose weight, saying that the success that she had in her profession was just a fluke, or that someone had given it to her. And she would wait on him hand and foot. And she would buy him everything he wanted. She just gave and gave and gave, and yet it was never enough. And he was also psychologically abusive because he was very charming and outgoing when they were out in public. So everyone thought he was great. But he was very mean and biting and nasty behind closed doors with her. And so when she would express her concern, people thought she was crazy. They didn't believe her. And there were times that she admitted to me that she actually thought maybe she was going crazy. When I asked her if there was physical abuse, her answer was rarely. So here's the thing. No one can come through an experience like that completely unscathed. And Samantha's no different. I mean, clearly there are wounds that have to be healed so that she doesn't drag the trauma of that forward into future relationships, letting it sabotage and impact her relationships. But here's what I want to talk about. And here's the tool that's going to help you. So I've only spoken to her less than a handful of times. And I've already heard this story of her painful experience with her ex-husband multiple times without prompting. And she shared with me that she shares that story amongst her friends and the people that she's close to pretty often. And I understand why she does that, because essentially what she's trying to do, either with her friends or in her own mind, is justify why she's struggling in her life right now. I get that. We want to explain, we want to justify, particularly when we're struggling. That is not an insult on her. That is just a very natural, I think, human condition, a human response to a difficult situation, is explain why we are where we are. So it helps her to a point. What's helpful about that is that now she's able to view that experience from the outside because she's no longer in the relationship. And so she sees the experience much more clearly, and she realizes that she wasn't going crazy, but she was being abused. But the part that's not helpful for Samantha is that when she tells that story again and again and again and again, it keeps the pain and the emotion of that story very active in her present experience. See, what we think about creates some momentum, and what we talk about creates even more momentum. And so every time she's telling that story, she's creating more momentum around that. And digging through those emotions all the time can't feel good. And it also attracts to her more of the same. So what she's actually unintentionally doing is giving her ex, her painful ex from her past, much more power in her present and around her future than she really wants. So I don't care if it's a boss that treated you wrong, a mother that's never been the kind of mother that you needed, or an ex-husband or an ex-boyfriend that hurt you or abused you in some way. As long as you keep telling that story, you're going to stay stuck in it. And what you're doing is you're giving them way more power over your current life and the life that you're trying to create. And I know that that's not what you want. Now hear me out. When I say stop telling the story over and over and over again, I'm not saying that what happened didn't matter or that it was okay, because it wasn't. But what I am saying is that you actually have all the power, and you have the ability to create a future experience that looks and feels so much different than your past. But you cannot do that when you drag your past around with you and give it life in your current experience. So what I want you to do is just notice. Whatever painful story you're carrying, whatever painful experience that you are carrying with you, I want you to notice when you're thinking about it, and absolutely when you're talking about it. That's it. You don't even have to change it or stuff it down or squelch it, none of that. Just notice when you're talking about it and when you're thinking about it, because noticing it, that alone can create massive change. Because after a while, you won't want to hear that story either. I hope that this is helpful for you. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, because I come out with new content every single week. Be well.